So, welcome back, man. It's been a while since we've done one of these.
I know, season 2.
Season 2, new year, new podcast. I'm excited about a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
For our guests, if you can't tell, it's Valentine's Day. So, we wanted to spark it up a little bit.
Just a little bit. You know what?
Why don't we just, why don't we break a little bubbly out, and just have a nice little chat. What do you think about that?
I like that. That. That's a great idea. Just don't poke my eye out.
Yeah, that's what I just literally had that whole scenario run through my head where I'm just like, it's like Wedding Crashers type style.
Well, we do need to talk about Wedding Crashers and our experience.
Yeah. What's your Valentine's Day usually like? What do you do
what?
for the wife?
We've been together 27 years. Woo. Woo.
Woo. 27 years.
27 years. Yeah, this is our 27th year. We moved to Denver in 2012.
Okay.
Right before Valentine's, actually. It was like
right
around this time, January.
Perfect. That wasn't even scripted.
No. And we ended up I took her to the Brown Palace. We did a whole, they have that high tea ceremony. Yep. So we had a weekend at the Brown Palace, which I love. You know how much I love old hotels, historic hotels.
Me
just
too.
That classic look, and I think that, we just had a wonderful time. So I think we're going to recreate that, this year. What about you? What you got planned? I know,
TBD.
TBD.
Not married, obviously. Single, married to the game. Married to adaptive reuse.
Cheers to adaptive reuse. I think that's going to be a big theme this year.
Yeah, and it's the theme of our show. Love at second sight. Taking an old building and breathing life back.
A classic building.
A classic building. Yeah.
See.
Speaking of which, didn't you just say that you walked into the Magnolia? Aren't we looking at doing a renovation for the Magnolia? That'd be a great place to take your
Great project, great building. The engineer there took me around. They're going to do a refresh of the lobby. I think they're going to do 65 rooms. And it's really it's an interesting balance, right? Because you have to balance, some modern efficiency with some of that classic beauty.
Yeah.
Working with the designer on that. So that should be a really fun project once that gets kicked off. Magnolia, the bar there is amazing. They're just wanting to get a little bit better, efficient flow of traffic. So I think it's going to be a great project once we start. And we love the adaptive reuse, especially on historic buildings.
Yeah,
I know earlier in the year, last year, you were looking at a historic building down in the Grand Canyon, right? And
yeah, that's my love. We were working with Xanterra Group. It's local to Colorado, travel collection, fairly prominent owner. We'll leave him out of this one, but I'll just say he's very involved with Coachella. But they have this really awesome hotel called El Tovar right on the rim, the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And it's actually owned. So Xanterra's whole spiel is that they own hotels near or in national parks.
Oh, nice.
So they had other hotels like in like the city right out of the park, but the park actually owns El Tovar. They just manage it and are responsible for it. But it's a great hotel. It's over 100 years old. I mean, Oprah stayed there. The Clintons have stayed there. I think even like the Roosevelts have stayed there. So they do pose their challenges. Absolutely. I think adaptive reuse is like a really big buzzword right now. But I think a lot of developers are still a little bit nervous because, it's been done obviously in the past before, but right now with all of these vacant buildings, it's leaving a hole in the heart of the city, and
absolutely. I think it's a way to revitalize, pump some life back in the city. I know there's some good groups here that are looking at doing some office conversions. That's a real adaptive reuse. I think Luzado, they're looking at doing an office tower conversion. You're working with, or looking at stuff that Sage is doing?
So Sage Investment Group and Hotel Point, which is one that you and I are both trying to work on. Basically, they're changing hotels into workforce housing, which is a huge need for us. And honestly, I just was reading an article that Ryan, the president of Sage, had posted about, their occupancy rates are much lower than a lot of these Class A buildings.
You mean their vacancy rates are lower?
Yeah, exactly. So, they're at 90% occupied, 3 months in. So
I think I read that same article, like the lease up period there, I think because they're able to hit rents that are a little bit lower because they're
attainable.
Yeah. Their starting point is much lower than brand new too.
Yeah.
If you can get these buildings, and a lot of these buildings are going on pennies to the dollar, so it becomes really attractive for a developer to come in, make some modern changes, work on the kitchen and the flow, and turn them into, long-term residences. And it's working. I think it's a model that we see working, but I see it also. You need kind of a PPP approach, which is a public-private. There's a lot of government funds that or tax credits that are available to some of these deals that make it pencil a lot better. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and a lot just rethinking the use of space. I know Costco. You don't think of Costco as a housing provider, but I just read another article where they're starting these pods that have the Costco on the bottom and then several residential units above, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Hilton and Marriott's already been trying to get into the multifamily game. Hilton's doing the same thing. I mean, these assets still hold value, and that's the whole thing that we're trying to tie in with this Valentine's Day date is that it's love at second chance. It's love at second sight.
Yeah.
I think I personally love the fact, because me, I love history. I love old architecture. Not that a lot of these buildings are going to be, like very type old architecture, like old cathedrals and stuff like that. Yeah. But one of the things that I've talked about, and we talked about with Hirsch, is like the monotony of all of these buildings and hotels kind of having that similar.
It's all cookie cutter.
Yeah, it's
right?
all cookie cutter versus.
Yeah, the little crown molding.
Exactly.
Yeah,
a lot of glass, all glass, and it's like they're beautiful buildings. Don't get me wrong, but I like a little bit of variety too, and I like somebody who has a creative idea, and can reuse these, buildings and build value back into them. So
absolutely, and we talked a little bit about you and I last weekend. We got a chance to celebrate your birthday last weekend. We went downtown. And you're a native to here, and you've seen kind of the downtown area just kind of, it's not quite as vibrant as it used to be. And it's because a lot of these vacant office buildings. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you're vacant office buildings, that means people aren't going and shopping, or they're not going to eat downtown. So it has a real effect on the city. So now that these groups are looking at these buildings from a whole new perspective, and bringing people to live in these buildings, it's going to really, I think, revitalize the downtown scene. And I love what the mayor is doing down there.
Yeah.
He's a big proponent of this stuff. And
he's a big proponent of our projects.
Yeah. The T2T project, I have to thank, the mayor's office for all the support they gave us in giving the T2T folks, kind of a great runway to complete this project. And I think, we just, in the beginning last year, we just started to do the demo.
Well, for those people that don't know, do you want to just tell them what T2T is?
Yeah, absolutely. So T2T, great mission-driven project. It's the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. It's the Veterans Village building that we're converting the old Fairfield Inn Hotel into long-term housing for veterans, right? So not only transforming the hotel rooms into livable spaces, but also having office build out for support services, to really support our veteran community and our homeless veteran community.
Yeah, it's a dignified solution.
Absolutely.
On a property that is like, what were you going to do? Like demo it and build another brand new hotel? It's like, there's problems out there that these, adaptive reuses could solve. So like one, take ROI out of the equation, mission driven. These lend themselves well for mission driven projects that are actually solving societal problem. So I love that part about it as well.
And I agree. And even though I don't want to give the wrong impression about adaptive reuse, not having an ROI focus, because there's no reason why you can't do well while you're doing good.
Yeah.
So, and I'm seeing a lot of projects like that, a lot of affordable tax credit projects. As you know, the city is several thousand units short of the need that's out there, and I think the adaptive reuse is the way to go. So that's if I had to, we're kicking off the new year. I know 2025 was a little slower. I don't know, in your portfolio you saw that too, right?
Same. I mean, and I think it wasn't just my portfolio. It was like any of the architects in my network, any of the developers in my network, other general contractors that I just have relationships with. Everybody had a weird year. It was a lot of hurry up and wait. There was obviously the tariffs, money was expensive. So it's this year I can already tell that there's more productive conversations, more actual interest, more projects going forward already. I think everybody kind of sat and wait and sat on their hands and people, especially like we discussed, maybe not on the ground up stuff, but in multifamily especially, when those interest rates drop, that's when, the value adds kind of
everything gets turned off.
Yeah.
And, the thing that I'm seeing now, and I agree with you, projects that have been collecting dust are now, being dusted off the shelf, and we're getting calls now for those projects. And I think what the interesting thing is going to be, and I've seen this before, this isn't my first cycle where I've seen kind of a slowdown and then a rush to production. The groups that are quicker to pull the trigger are going to be in a better situation for several reasons. One, availability of resources and labor. And I think a lot of these folks that are sitting on the fence waiting for the right opportunity might wait too long. Mm-hmm. And they jump in and they're not going to have the same availability of framers, or there's a limited supply of labor, and there's definitely from a material standpoint. So I think the investment groups that are smart, they don't want to be bleeding edge, but they want to be leading edge. And they want to get their projects started early. And that's why, I think that's why our phones are ringing off the hook. Some of our more experienced developers have been through this before, and they understand the value of being the first mover. So I think it's going to be a good year.
Yeah. And honestly, we have a good, strong group of local guys that are taking stabs at these things. There was that one adaptive reuse. I don't want to say the name because I don't know it exactly, and I don't want to mess it up, but they had converted the old hospital into multifamily. So
was it the mental health hospital?
I think it was like an actual hospital.
Okay, got it.
It was a realty group. I think it was maybe just an in-house like investment. I don't know if they've done that or not before. I'd be curious to talk to them if you guys watch this. I'd love to take a tour and hear about what the issues that they came about, because this is really a field that you and I get excited about, and that we feel like more projects are going to be coming in like that. And so that's why we're talking about this. And
what's funny is that now we're being called in with some design teams, some architectural firms that want kind of our expertise from
that early contractor involvement.
Yeah. Exactly, that early contractor pre-con. We're getting a lot more, I guess, attention or calls for that, because it is a specialized space. It is.
It's not a ground up. There's not a lot of data on it, so you need to be working with somebody live.
And even if you do have data, each building is different, and
Yes.
You go into an existing space, you have no idea what's behind the walls. You have no idea if there's mold back there. You have no idea if there's, if it was wired correct. Like, you just don't know. Mm-hmm. You have to do a little, deconstructive searching,
exactly.
To make sure you
got to put some holes in some walls.
Exactly.
And figure out what's over there. It's you want, in a situation with adaptive reuse, you want to have a contractor with experience in that. And the thing is, there's not that many contractors who actually have full on adaptive reuse, So again, I encourage, we're trying to set this up right now. We're still in the demo phase of Tunnels to Towers, but it would be great to encourage any of the local developers or architects that are interested. Design firms. We're happy to talk about Tunnels to Towers. Give you an inside peek of the project, introduce you to our team, talk about the challenges. We actually want to host a networking event a little bit down the road, so we can get all these collaborative minds together that are in this adaptive reuse space. Not only the architects, but also the developers, maybe some builders, and let's talk. Let's talk about solutions. Let's and do a little networking and have a little bit of fun as well.
Yeah, we talked about that. I know we're a little removed from New Year's, but we talked about not New Year's resolutions, but intentions. And you said the intention for this year for me, I know, is to involve a little bit more fun in what we do. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you, I have more fun when I'm able to expose and teach someone or have someone see something watch the project through their eyes, and I get enthused by some of the things that they're bringing too. Mm-hmm. So it's not that we're just going to be the experts and lecture people. But we want to hear, especially when you're dealing with designers and architects, those guys already have a creative mind, and I love to get that conversation going. And even us as a group, when we get together, Kyle is off camera right now, but when it's three of us getting together with different minds, Kyle's definitely more the creative, and he brings out a lot of those, different thoughts. And I think we're going to have the same experience, talking to these groups. And
I mean, more often than not, I am personally not the expert, but I'm really good at bringing all the experts together and finding something to bond over.
I need a refill.
You need some more? Okay.
Yeah. But no, absolutely. It is Friday.
Yeah.
It is Friday. And no, I think that's really the essence of our job. Really, is just to bring like-minded people together, and actually even people that have different ways of thinking.
I mean, that's how solutions are made. It's like you take these two contradicting ideas, and it's like, how do you remove the friction, and then you get an end product at the end of the day. So.
Just like you inspire me, for example, those red bottoms that you have on right now.
Oh God. Yeah.
I just love your sense of fashion.
I'll give you a red bottom if you want to keep this up.
No, but I think like I said, this year, and it's not just here in Denver. Obviously our focus. Rookie mistake.
Money's calling. That wasn't me.
Oh, that was me. I know.
Oh.
That's the money phone, though. I like when that rings. But you were saying it's not just here.
Disclaimer, Tony's an Android guy.
Well,
please tune in to next week where I try to
convince me that Apple is better. Let's not get into that war again. But what I was saying is it's not just here in our home city of, Denver and Colorado. There's some exciting things going on in Florida. You've got a project going on that, we sent some folks to take a look at. There's a exciting, it's not necessarily an adaptive reuse, but it's a refresh that I'm chasing. It's the Old Palm Beach, great resort down there.
That's exciting.
That's an exciting project. So, and I know, you've got a lot of ties to the Arizona market. That's our other core market. And we're going to be doing some exciting things down there too.
Yeah, I'm just pumped for. It's good to see our own backyard kind of building up. Because I will say, last year, as much as we probably put more focus in who's in our backyard, more of the opportunities were Arizona or Florida or Texas, whatnot, and it's exciting to see the city kind of getting up and running again, and I'm just personally seeing more opportunities come across the desk anyway. So it kind of gives a good projection for the year. It's good for the city. I think we're tracking and going the right direction.
It's funny because I think our three main verticals are all coming alive at the same time. Our hospitality vertical, that line, that's the line that kind of kept us through 2025. That was definitely the leader. But we're also seeing in the senior living space, a lot of refreshes are being kicked off the beginning spring season. So we're going to see a lot of involvement there. And then what are your thoughts on our other verticals?
I think you said it right. I mean, the adaptive reuse, it's like we're marrying hospitality, multifamily, and
senior
conversion.
Living.
Yeah, senior living. It's almost like we've accidentally found ourselves as the industry leader based off of the verticals that we chose a decade ago.
Correct.
And again, it's not often occupied. I haven't seen an adaptive reuse that's occupied, so that makes the process a little bit less complicated. Which, you know, we love the occupied renovations, but I'm excited to do some more tunnels to towers type stuff.
We love the occupied space. It's exciting, but I imagine for our project managers, you know, that they are orchestrating not only just the vendors, but, you know, coordinating the people who live and work there. That's a whole new skill set. I take my hat off to those guys, but they've narrowed it down. They've got it down to a science right now, you know.
But our PMs, you know, that you know, and I'm selling us because that's the point of this thing. But if they're able to handle, you know, 300 unit occupied renovations and keep those logistics tight, then
with a population that's really sensitive to
absolutely
environment.
Yep, and you remove that. I mean, it's just that's we're ramped up, you know, and then, you know, you take out the occupancy of it, it's just going to be an even better flowing project.
And I think it shows. You've that project down in the Springs. I won't mention the name, but, you know, where we were weeks ahead of schedule, you know, in doing that project. You know, that was just the roofing side of it. But I think because we are so used to doing complex construction and renovation projects around an occupied space, when we don't have to deal with that additional, you know, concern, we really it becomes really easy, almost, you know, and that's why we're able to blow away schedules, you know. And I think, you know, the T2T were definitely ahead of schedule. The project you did in the Springs,
that blew my mind. I've never seen a roof go on that fast. You know? It was a 50,000 square foot roof done in less than a week. So
4 days.
No, I agree, and you know, we couldn't have done it without the support from, you know, our internal office. And so,
the production team. You know, we have to. You know,
I'm grateful for them. Yes, too, you know, happy Valentine's Day.
Valentine's to them.
You
know, we gotta give them some love because
love you guys, LUV.
No, but it makes it easy because, you know, selling is all about confidence. You know, and
you gotta be exactly for us. We have to be confident in our team.
Because it's our face, it's our name, it's our word that we're giving to the client.
Yeah.
And if they can't, you know.
And if you can't tell that we're confident by wearing, you know, these suits on our podcast, then, you know, take another look. No, I like how you put that together, though.
And the confidence, like I said, I keep going. Do those shoes have spikes? Like that takes a lot of confidence, you know, to rock those. I agree.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone has ever accused you of lacking confidence, you know. And
there's been a few, yeah.
No, but I think, you know, and I've been able to team up with you over this last year. I've watched you grow in the position, right? And, you know, we both talk about, you know, it's not necessarily confidence; it's the removing of ego.
Yeah.
When you approach a project, you approach meeting someone with the intention of being a servant and helping them.
Yeah. And just being a human.
Yeah.
You know, that's like my whole thing. Like, I've been working on that for the past couple of years, is like out with the ego. You know, it doesn't serve me. Anything that's like 2026, I already told you the intention is health and balance. You know, if something's not serving me, you know, it goes out the door. And I'm just leading with empathy, leading with humanity. You know, I want to have conversations with people like we're just having conversations here, you know, low pressure, solution oriented, real life talk, you know, and fun. You know, let's breathe fun back into the AEC world. You know, I've met with so many architects recently. Like, one of my good friends is like sick, you know, because of just the stresses of, you know, operating a business, which is, you know, really sad and really hard to get. But it's like, come on, society, like let's have a good time doing what we're doing again, because I think you could agree with me, when we're having a good time, it seems like the deals come more often.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? When you're stressed and your body is in a cortisol lock, you know, you're just, you know, your brain's already projecting the future of like negativity, you know. But when we're having a good time and you're visualizing, you know, these deals and, you know, meeting these different types of people, now you're on a good flow state at that point.
And this year, we're going to take this show on the road. Right?
Yeah,
We're definitely taking this show on the road. So this probably will be our last one here in our lovely studio, because I think the rest will be either on location, at client sites, really, having those conversations, like you said. We even talked about the possibility of getting an RV and taking this on the road. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And you're absolutely right. It's just like, this is the Valentine's Day edition. So we'll give some advice, some love advice coming from the, guy in a 27-year relationship.
I would love to hear it. Yeah.
But, what you said about, exuding that happiness and confidence attracts, and that's, we're not chasing deals anymore. You notice that. You notice how the phone's ringing. Where Kyle's getting a lot of more responses on our website. Deals are coming in, and I think it's not only just because the market is improving, it's because we really enjoy what we do, and that comes across, and I think that attracts. It's the same thing in the dating world, right? If you're all tense, if you're just having a good time,
exactly,
you attract good people.
And lately I've kind of learned too is like the pure real confidence, like, that doesn't come from how much money you make. It doesn't come from what brand of clothes you wear. To me, it really comes down to like understanding like the psychology of humanity and just being able to be like, again, just break through with like being a human. Because sometimes you get into these positions where it's like, I want to talk to a company that's like a bigger company, and you get a little bit nervous because the office is on the the 15th floor of a high rise.
Guess what? They put on their pants one leg at a time.
Bingo. And they have the same problems and they feel the same emotions that you do. And once you can kind of get past that facade of, what their status is, then it's easy to just have conversations, and not every time are they going to have that same type of vibe back to you,
And that's okay.
Actually, probably more often than not, they're not going to. But again, is that somebody that you want to build a relationship with? Because
do you want to work a 10-month, a year project with that person?
Yeah, because we're relationship brokers, basically, is what
much
our deal is. We want to find people not only that have projects. We're not going to chase every project because there's a few things. I turned one down
just yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's not the right fit, like there's not a point in both of us stressing each other out. It just, if it's not a right fit, it's not a right fit. But for me, one of the more important things too is like, is this person can I work with this person? Is this person have empathy? Does this person, have good reasoning, or are they just kind of stuck in their own silo and everybody is, either a threat to them or, against them? We want to work with people where we're building relationships, building partnerships. That's where the strength comes in. That's where the convenience comes in. If we're proving ourselves to, a guy that has 80 properties in his portfolio, he doesn't want to go through the whole process again. He wants to go to the guys that crushed it the last time at a good price and didn't ask a lot of questions, made his life easier,
And that's the job of a good GC, I think getting involved early, getting the questions out early, and understanding the project beyond just the blueprint, understanding the purpose and the mission, and the vision from the ownership. And I think a lot of teams lose that, especially, I came from the multifamily world, and I was guilty of that myself, where I've got a project, I put it out to bid, get 3-4 bids, and I'm looking at the lowest guy.
Yeah, you don't
more
care.
often than not. And the lowest guy maybe doesn't have the idea or hasn't been an operator himself, and chooses materials that you'll need to replace in 2 years. Mm-hmm. So as an operator, that's why I like to get involved early in the design phase, so that when the designer says we should use this piece of furniture or this material for the wall, or that, we can say, well, that's great. However, have you thought of the long-term use? And depending on the hold period, if it's a 3-5 year hold, they might not care. But if this is a legacy building or a project that they want to keep, I apologize, my phone. Then it's a different approach. And I think we put that in when we're bidding a project. We put that thought in, and so oftentimes we do come in, not the lowest guy, but we definitely come in, and when we work a project, there's less change orders.
And we don't want to be the lowest guy, and, I've known from past experience of picking the lowest guy, and I'm not picking on the lowest guy, but
sometimes
you got to start somewhere, sometimes it serves their purpose, but, more often than not, the lowest guy is going to become the most expensive at the end of the day. And I think we sit at a nice crossroads of, what we're capable of. We're not the big guys,
no,
but we're not the chucks in the trucks either.
And it's about creating. It's not the cost; it's the value.
Yes.
And we're value driven, solutions oriented, and I think we keep that focus. It's what has us winning so far.
Yeah, and you have guys like us that are doing temperature checks with the client every time. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can I help you? We are service providers, and that's what you get when you work with Capella or Global. So, I don't know how I don't know where to go from here, but again, kind of going back to the adaptive reuse, I had a question for you. In the office versus the hotel, adaptive reuse, what are your opinions, or like even like the hospital? Do you feel like these developers that are going and taking more risks on these buildings that weren't meant to be multifamily versus, a hotel is, again, which is not even a simpler conversion, like in T2T, we had sub panels on each 10th floor. Well, now each room is going to get its own kitchen, needs its own sub panel like you would have in your residence. So these are complex questions, which of course engineers and architects know about, but I like the encouragement of bringing in the contractor early on because we're actually working through the process,
No, absolutely. Obviously, hotel to residential is a much easier lift. When you're dealing with, an office to resi conversion, floor plates don't necessarily match. You've got unused wall space, too much window on one side. There's a lot of design features, and becomes a little bit more difficult with the shell of the building with an office space, which was not intended to be used that way. So there's no doubt. However, with the right engineer, with the right design team, you can go beyond that. You can find the solution, and again, it comes down to the price point. We're talking about
does it pencil? Yeah.
Does it pencil? And a lot of these deals, a lot of these cities, who their main need is to provide housing, will make it incredibly attractive, make deals incredibly attractive, to the point where building a new unit, the cost per unit is substantially higher. So you're coming in at that lower price point. So then, you can spend a little bit more money on the design, on the engineering, but it's not impossible. It's not rocket science, and and there are groups that are doing it really well. And we're happy to partner with them.
So you would agree that like a marriage or like love, it takes work.
Oh yeah. No.
Are we afraid of work? No, we're not.
No. Or you just choose the right project, which I did. So it's
exactly.
It was easy.
Actually, I need to bring her on the show and ask how she did this adaptive reuse.
Yeah. I'm definitely the project here.
Yeah. And she did a great job. I didn't see what it started with, but
it was rough.
I appreciate where it's ended.
Well, listen, thank you for joining us on our, Valentine's edition, our
Happy
2026 Happy Valentine's Day
out there. Yeah.
To all the moms out there. Happy Valentine's.
Moms, wives, everybody. I hope you feel loved.
There you go.
Everybody deserves that, and
you deserve love too, Chris. I'm looking out for love for you this year.
I appreciate that. And if anybody doesn't get told Happy Valentine's Day or they love you, I'm telling you right now. My phone number is. I'm just kidding. No, I think that was great. I appreciate it. I think I love this topic. So. And
I'm looking forward to this year, a very exciting year of
Same.
Unpermitted. We're going to have some pretty cool guests.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be on the road.
Yeah, and anybody looking to, again, check out our adaptive reuse project currently, give us a shout out. We'd be happy to
walk you through it,
talk you through it,
tell you the hurdles and the obstacles we had to face. And
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, cheers, my friend.
Cheers to you. Happy Valentine's Day, buddy. Kyle.
Kyle.
Happy Valentine's Day, man.